We're going to jump right into what's real, what's fake today. And this might be the last time that I do this segment until next football season. We'll see. But for those of you that are new subscribers, what we do here at the beginning of every week is we take headlines from the weekend and we determine what's real, or what I agree with, and what's fake, an overreaction to something. First up this week, Tua Tagovailoa's bad day in a big spot for the Dolphins will linger all offseason. Real. I got this from Yahoo Sports. And before I get into the disaster in Buffalo on Sunday, I wanted to start with this. I have been following the NFL for 25 plus years. I have never seen a cult-like following around a rookie quarterback like I have seen this season with Tua Tagovailoa. I was catching up on my comment section on YouTube over the weekend. I posted a video about Tua not being ready about a week or so ago, and it had over 200 comments, with most people coming to the defense of Tua. People accusing me of being a hater, being a fan of the Tennessee Volunteers, of me having some kind of vendetta against Tua. Now, none of that is true. None of that is the case. I have no college football team. If you've been following me on this channel for a while, then you know that I hardly watch college football. I'm definitely not a Tua hater. I'm just a realist. The truth is, just like I said when this happened in October, Brian Flores made a mistake benching Ryan Fitzpatrick for Tua. And that mistake cost the Dolphins a chance at the playoffs. A lot of you guys want to compare Tua to guys like Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. But there is a huge difference between Tua and Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. Herbert and Burrow were playing for teams that didn't have a shot at the playoffs coming into the season. Tua stepped into a situation where he had a Super Bowl caliber defense. The Dolphins were a 10-win team with a real shot at the playoffs. Sunday afternoon in Buffalo was Tua's moment. It was his chance to shine, his chance to prove people like me wrong. Ryan Fitzpatrick was on the COVID list. He was unavailable. The Dolphins are in a win-and-end scenario. The Bills essentially have nothing to play for. Hell, they sat most of their starters the entire second half of that game. But that didn't matter, because by the time the second half kicked off, the damn game was already over. Now, I'm not going to lay the blame for that blowout loss all on Tua. It wasn't all his fault. The Dolphins' defense played their worst game of the season. The entire team came out flat. I like Brian Flores. I think he is an excellent young head coach. He's got the Dolphins headed in the right direction. But when your team comes out flat in the biggest game of the season, that falls on the head coach. That falls on Brian Flores. You have got to be able to get your team motivated for a game of this magnitude. Now, the Dolphins' defense did their thing early. Once again, they forced Josh Allen into an interception early on in the first quarter, gave Tua the ball in Bills' territory. Miami's offense comes out and they're completely discombobulated. Mistimed throws, Tua still relying on his check down receivers instead of throwing the ball downfield. The Dolphins had a perfect opportunity to go up 7-0 early, on the road, in a win-and-end playoff scenario. Instead, they had to settle for 3 points. You cannot let those type of opportunities slip away at the NFL level. That first Dolphins offensive drive carried over into the rest of that game. And once again, they never got into any rhythm offensively. When they went down 21-3 in the first half, the game was over. Because Tua hasn't developed into the type of quarterback who can lead that big of a comeback, especially on the road. The Bills gave Tua an opportunity to win that game. They put in the reserves in the second half. The Dolphins cut the lead to 28-13. Then, on the next offensive drive, Tua throws a pick six. Then another interception. And another interception. The Tua lovers out there will look at his stats on paper. He threw for 361 yards and try to make the case that he had a good game on Sunday. He padded those stats late in the game when Miami was down 30 points. It was a disaster of epic proportions. And all offseason, Tua is going to carry the bulk of the blame for the Miami Dolphins not making the playoffs, which is another reason that I think it was premature for Brian Flores to start him in the first place. If they had stuck with Ryan Fitzpatrick and they missed the playoffs, okay, no big deal. But now you got to wonder, if Brian Flores, if they had stayed with Ryan Fitzpatrick all season, would the Miami Dolphins have made the playoffs? I get wanting to develop Tua. I get wanting to get him experience. See what you got with him. I get all that. I understand it. But Brian Flores set Tua up for failure. Like I said, this wasn't a 3-13, 4-12. This wasn't a 5-11 team. This was a playoff caliber roster. And the one game Miami wasn't able to rely on their defense to bail them out, to carry them to victory, the one game they needed their quarterback to carry the load, Tua couldn't do it because he's not ready. Tua wasn't ready. And it cost the Dolphins a playoff berth and the other players on this roster incentives and playoff money. All right, next up. Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson's relationship is fractured beyond repair. Real. I mean, this is obviously real. I got this from ESPN.com. And thank you, Chris Mortensen, the author of this piece on ESPN, for giving us the most obvious headline of the year. Of course, the relationship between Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz and the Eagles as an organization, is fractured beyond repair. How would you feel if you were Carson Wentz? You have an MVP caliber season a few years ago. Nick Foles comes in and wins your Super Bowl ring because you're injured. The Eagles finally pay you. You're our guy, Carson. You're our guy. You're our franchise quarterback. Then they immediately go out and draft Jalen Hurts in the second round. How would you feel if you were Carson Wentz? Because he never got over it. He felt disrespected, and rightfully so. You know how many times the Saints have drafted a quarterback in the first or the second round of the draft since 2006 when they signed Drew Brees in free agency? 0. Doug Peterson and the Eagles screwed Carson Wentz when they drafted Jalen Hurts. It sent a signal that they didn't have faith in him as their franchise quarterback. It doesn't matter that they committed big money to him. It doesn't matter that they said all the right things in the media. You don't draft a quarterback early in the draft so he can sit on the bench. You draft him so you can play him. Now, did Carson Wentz struggle this season? For sure. For sure he did. But the Eagles as a team struggled. It wasn't all Carson Wentz. The defense wasn't as good as they were in previous years. For the second straight season, this roster was ravaged by injuries. But when Doug Peterson made the decision to bench Carson Wentz in favor of Jalen Hurts a few weeks ago, the marriage was over. I mean, that's the equivalent of a man choosing his mistress over his wife. There's no coming back from that. Now, Carson Wentz is planning to demand a trade this offseason. And reportedly, he's actually willing to restructure his contract to make that happen. It's too expensive for the Eagles to trade him in 2021 because of a clause in his deal. So Carson Wentz restructuring his contract has got to happen if he wants out of Philadelphia. Here's where it could get interesting, though. It's rumored that Frank Reich and the Colts are interested in trading for Carson Wentz. Now, Phillip Rivers came out the other day, and he said that he wanted to be back in Indianapolis next season. And if the Colts weren't interested in bringing him back, then he was going to retire. If the Colts can get Carson Wentz, that's definitely the way to go. He has many more years left to play, while Phillip Rivers has maybe 2 years left. Plus, the combination of Frank Reich and Carson Wentz has worked before. I mean, Wentz had the best year of his NFL career when Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator in Philly. And let me get to Doug Peterson for 1 second before we move on. He has been misleading the media and the fans for a little while about Carson Wentz, how he still believes that he's our guy. And he did it again Sunday after their loss against Washington that secured the Redskins the NFC East. Doug Peterson is getting drugged for benching Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter for Nate Sutfield. He's being accused of waving the white flag, of essentially losing on purpose. Now, Doug Peterson came out and said that he was coaching to win that game, And they had planned all week for Nate Sudfeld to take over in the fourth quarter because he needed some reps. Are you kidding me? Nate Sudfeld has been in Philadelphia for 4 years. If you don't know what you have in him by now, which is nothing but a third-string quarterback, then something is wrong with the coaching staff in Philadelphia. I mean, let's just be real here. The Eagles and Doug Peterson, they didn't want to win that game. They wanted the higher draft pick. If they win, they drop from the number 6 spot to number 9. Now, I know it's a bad look for the NFL if Doug Peterson had come out and said, we purposely lost that game. But that's the truth. Jalen Hurts was god-awful Sunday night. But do you really think Doug Peterson thought Nate Sudfeld gave the Eagles the best chance to win that game? Of course not. All right, next up. The LA Chargers and Anthony Lynn were big winners Sunday afternoon. Fake. Got this from Yahoo Sports. Now, this article was clearly an overreaction and clearly written before Anthony Lynn got fired from the Chargers. He went 33-31 in 4 years with the Chargers. Made the playoffs back in 2018. Missed the playoffs the last 2 years. Now, I've always been a supporter of Anthony Lynn. When he was on the hot seat after last season, I came on here and I actually supported him keeping his job with the Chargers. But after what I witnessed this season, it is clear that the Chargers made the right decision moving on from Anthony Lynn. Even though this team finished the season hot with 4 straight wins, there were just too many coaching errors throughout the year for Anthony Lynn to keep his job. I mean, where do we even begin with it? How about the 45-0 beatdown to the Patriots at home, when it looked like the Chargers didn't even show up to play that game? Or what about when Anthony Lynn made the decision to run the ball with no timeouts in the final minute of the game against the Bills? 2 weeks later, he repeated that same mistake late in the first half against the Falcons. It was just, stuff like this was just too much to overlook. I say on here all the time, in the NFL, it's not that you lose, it's how you lose that matters. The way Anthony Lynn and the Chargers have lost the last 2 years is just inexcusable. At one point this season, they blew a 16-point lead 4 weeks in a row. They lost 3 of those games. Now you flip those 3 losses, we're talking about a Chargers that could be a playoff team. This is going to be an attractive job. The Chargers are an attractive job. You've got a potential franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. You have an elite edge rusher in Joey Bosa. The Chargers are set up for success. They just need a head coach that can teach this young team how to win. I thought, and honestly, I'd hoped that Anthony Lynn could be that guy. Clearly, he couldn't. Past 2 years, the Chargers have lost 16 one-possession games. In a league where the margin of error is razor thin, at some point, you have got to win those type of games. Anthony Lynn just couldn't get over the hump. All right, last up. Max Kellerman is a woke idiot. Real. And I got this one from me. All last summer, Max Kellerman would come on ESPN every morning and push for the NFL to cancel or postpone their season. There's no way the NFL makes it through the season with the COVID going on. It's not safe to play football this year. The season is going to be canceled at some point. There's no way the NFL makes it through a 17-week season in the middle of a pandemic. Well, Max Kellerman, once again, you were wrong. Which is something that he should be accustomed to by now, being wrong. ESPN pays Max Kellerman, I would assume 7 figures, to go on national television every day and make a fool of himself. And he's the best in the business at doing it. He is damn good at his job. The NFL made it through the regular season with 0 canceled games. Now sure, some games were moved at points throughout the year, but all regular season games were played. The NFL and the players and the coaches, they deserve credit for making it happen. Because make no mistake, they had everything going against them. The media was against them. People like Max Kellerman against them. Politicians against them. But the NFL pushed forward and they completed the season. Now, I don't praise Roger Goodell often, but he deserves credit for getting the league through this year. Now, I've been critical of the NFL at times throughout the season for their ridiculous COVID protocols. I mean, for example, the Saints Sunday afternoon in Carolina, having their entire running back group unavailable because one running back, Alvin Kamara, tested positive for the COVID. The other running backs were unavailable because of contact tracing, which makes no sense to me. I don't like it, but I understand the NFL's position. They've got to cover themselves from liability. I get it. But all that's beside the point, though. What is the point, and what's most important, is that the NFL has completed the regular season without interruption, and they're going to finish the playoffs. They're going to crown a Super Bowl champion. And they proved Max Kellerman and the elitist media wrong. They proved Max Kellerman was just a woke talking head looking for attention. Because that's what he did all summer. And at points throughout the regular season, looked for attention. Max Kellerman was just looking for attention. Oh, if I say the NFL season will be canceled, I'll have my name in the headlines. Max Kellerman should stick to talking boxing and leave his woke opinion about the NFL to himself because no one cares. All right, that's all for today. Hit that like and subscribe button. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Leave me a comment in the section below. All you tour lovers out there, come on. Come on and defend your knight in shining armor at quarterback. Tell me how it is not Tua's fault that the Miami Dolphins did not make the playoffs. I cannot wait to hear the excuses you guys make for his performance against the Bills and for Tua being one of the main reasons that the Dolphins aren't in the playoffs this year. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Best way to contact me is by email at BTLKC84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys next time.